Hello and welcome, guys, to another episode of the OnReviewCast. I'm your host here, Ash, and today we're taking a look at one of the famous series known as One Piece. Not just One Piece, but One Piece live action. So this is One Piece live action on review.
Netflix series One Piece live action Season 1 Episode 1.
And just like every other episode, guys, we're going to start the episode off with a synopsis courtesy of Fandom. This episode air date was August 31st, 2023, and it was directed by Mark Jost, and the screenplay was written by Matt Owens and Stephen Medea. Synopsis. Monkey D. Luffy, an optimistic young pirate with the dreams of finding the One Piece, sets off in search of a loyal crew he needs to navigate the vast oceans. His journey begins when he helps Kobe, a deckhand, forced into the servitude to escape the undesirable situation. While in Shell's town, Luffy meets Zoro, a former pirate, and Nami, a master thief, and the three form a tenuous alliance. Yeah, guys, I'm excited to review this because I am a longtime anime One Piece fan. If you guys don't know already on the channel, you probably have seen a few reviews of, some reviews of some anime. We do have an anime section on the OnReviewCast. But yeah, I love One Piece. I like One Piece. One Piece is cool. And we've been watching One Piece, for instance, forever. So let's give a little bit of background in terms of like when it comes to me and One Piece and like what it actually just means to, in general, what One Piece means to basically to us here at OnReviewCast. So One Piece is one of those timeless anime, and it's one of those timeless animes in general that has just impacted the community. When you think of One Piece, it almost comes synonymous of anime One Piece. It's in certain ways gone on certain levels of Dragon Ball Z, and somehow surpassed Dragon Ball Z. Like if you were to show anybody a picture of like anybody that was born before or during the 90s, like you showed a picture of Goku to them, you wouldn't even know the show. They'd probably be like, oh yeah, no, that's Goku. They know that's Goku. One Piece has slowly become synonymous to that infamy and getting that big of what, of what it's synonymous to getting that big of what Dragon Ball Z is. And it has such a huge fandom, such a big following, such a huge, cult following that this is big. This is the first live action of One Piece, but not the first live action of anime we had. We've had some spankers, if I do say so myself. And just getting into that too, it's a little bit of background where we basically are in terms of like, bringing anime to life, bring anime to life, and bringing anime to, I suppose the small screen. I suppose, but yeah, it's definitely something that is. It's definitely something that's been attempted before, but hasn't been attempted in the right way. And if I'm being honest, I guess I'm still not quite sure if it's being attempted in the correct way. But we have an attempt by Yuichiro Oda, and this is the first episode. And I gotta admit, it wasn't as horrible as I particularly thought it was going to essentially be. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't really that bad. It wasn't bad at all, actually. I thought that overall they did a okay job. Going into it, I'll be completely honest. I was very hesitant, and because of our track records with essentially with and bringing live action to anime in the first place. It's not particularly being the greatest. So was kind of a little bit apprehensive for them actually jumping into One Piece and making it and going into it and making a live action about it. But they came to bring it, even though through this process and getting to this point, we had heard so many things. We had heard that, Yushido Oda is going to be a part of this. Yushido Oda is going to be, he's going to be down with this. He's going to make sure that everything goes right with this. He's going to make sure that nothing gets screwed up. It's going to be basically his vision to make sure that he's going to be there right there on set to make sure everything goes right. And I mean, we've heard this before too with look at Dragon Ball Z Evolution. I mean, apparently it was said or was in talks that Akira Toriyama was a part of that, or it turns out that he had nothing to fucking to do with that actually. And that's why we got Super, because Akira Toriyama was kind of like, no, this isn't me. This isn't who I am. I'm sorry. Let's just backtrack that and show you guys. Remember what Dragon Ball Z was really about. But more to this though. This first episode, like I said, was a surprise. It was a pleasant surprise, because the way that it was told and the way that how they showed everything, I guess I'm more or less like, I'm kind of also wondering, is it because it's One Piece, or is it because I don't think it's because of it's just One Piece. But I think while I'm watching it, I'm letting things slide. Do you know what I mean? Because it's so good, not so good, but because it's One Piece, I guess. The story, if I'm being honest, is so impactful, and it's so strong because of where we know we're going to end up and where we know we're going to be in probably a few, the pace they're going, a few years, if anything, really. But yeah. But anybody that's watched One Piece and watches this will definitely see some symmetry of the anime to that of the live action. And it's not necessarily to say that it's a bad thing, but yeah. It's not a bad thing. It's just that they right off the bat, they spot on follow the accuracy of this first episode in the first volume to probably pretty near accuracy of how the first episodes of One Piece actually goes within the anime. They follow things probably to a very strong degree, given that synopsis that we just did as well. They like I said, they follow things pretty close to the book, close to the comic, but no, the manga, and the anime, yeah. But I think how we should approach reviewing this, right, is that we should talk about, like I said, first I want to finish talking about live action anime in general, because I mean, we've gotten in the past, and then what we've got, and now what we've gotten here. And then I want to talk about the visuals, and then the story, and then the overall. Basically, I think how they basically did and what I thought about these characters. So talking about the what we've had in the past. So anime in general has had struggles with actually doing live action. They're talking about Dragon Ball Evolution, that was just a fucking nightmare. Honestly, it was just a garbage dumpster fire. It was horrible. Anybody who was an anime fan, or who just watches the movie in general and sees that sees this movie, it's just that you have so many questions for it. It just doesn't make sense. It's a bad movie. It's just in general, it's a bad movie. It's an even worse anime adaptation movie. I mean, in the past, it's just anime before, honestly, before this, I would have opted, and I would have said that hey, anime and live action. Anime is anime, leave anime where it is, and live action is live action, leave live action is where it is. But after watching, I guess, this One Piece thing, I mean, I have questions about it. My curiosity is a little bit more piqued. I'm a little bit more curious. I'm a little bit more live curious. If you know. I don't know if that's like correct to say, but like I'm a little bit more live curious, I guess, in terms of like, could we potentially make something that's awesome that's live action? And in the past, again, we talk about Dragon Ball Z. We've seen things online like Dragon Ball. I think there was that one Dragon Ball thing that was on YouTube that was like, I don't know, it looked better than even like Evolution, and it was about Trunks and the androids, and they looked really, really accurate and cool. So I mean, like there was like hints and potentials of it there. So the curiosity was like, as the years went on, was like a little bit there. And then as the years went on, we got things like Rurouni Kenshin and Bleach. That's when it started to get better, and I've seen it. Things like, it's not really anime, but things like The Last Airbender, the Nickelodeon version, Jesus Christ. Ugh, that was gross. But then there were good ones, like I said, like Rurouni Kenshin and Bleach. Now, Bleach had its problems, but Bleach was entertaining. That was a movie, dude. Like, oh man. That was a movie that you could like actually enjoy, and it was stuck very closely to the anime, and I think it did justice to the anime as well. I don't know how many Bleach movies came out. I'm still watching the 1,000 Year Blood War, but like I saw the movie, and the movie was actually watchable, and it was good. It wasn't bad. It wasn't horrible like those other movies. And then we got Alita Battle Angel, and that is when I was like, something's not adding up. We know what we want as anime fans. We know what it's supposed to look like. And someone even did like a side-by-side comparison of Alita Battle Angel and the live action versus the actual like fucking like anime that they did in the anime scene. And it was for page the exact same thing. And it was awesome. The way they did her animated face in 3D, and it was just great. It was believable. The acting was great. All of it was great. And it was a good movie, as long as a great anime movie. So I think that those are two different things, if I'm being honest. There are movies, and then there's anime adapted movies. And those, I don't think we quite understand what those are yet as a society. As an anime society, and as a society in general, we don't know that those two are a distinction, but they are. They are two different things. There's an anime adaptation movie or anime adaptation episode, and then there's just a normal episode of something, a drama, or whatever have you, and then there's an episode, a normal movie. Those two, I say those two are different because they're distinctly two different things, because they feel different. And one we've got a grasp on pretty well, the non-anime one. And the other one, it's clear that we're still trying to figure out, because we've adapted books and other things from other material and put them into movie, and they've been great. They've been awesome. And we've enjoyed them. But anime is something that's different. Anime is something that's just, it's like a wild beast to be tamed. And this is Yuichiro Oda's attempt at taming that wild beast. And god damn it if he didn't do an okay job. We can't say he did a good job now, because we just watched one episode. But god damn it, he did an okay job. Let's delve deeper into this anime adaptation of One Piece, because that's what it is. I want to talk about the actual visual effects and the scenery and how everything looks, first of all. So, right off the bat, let's talk about Monkey D. Luffy. They got this actor to play Monkey D. Luffy. And going through, like I said, we had previews for this. We had, sorry about that, guys. We had previews for this, and we had certain pictures that they were showing online of exactly what the characters would look like, and what what the characters would look like and what they would be dressed in, the visuals, all the graphics, right, and what the world would basically look like. And I didn't want to make any assumptions. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to know anything. I kept myself clean through this. I kept myself clean before actually watching this series too. And I'd see like things pop up online, like, oh, like look at this trailer for One Piece. Oh, look at this and this. And every time I see it, I just like avoid it, right? Like play. But Godoy, Mr. Godoy, I saw his face. I did not think he was an appropriate Luffy. I did not. And we're going to talk deep into, when it comes to like racial stuff and like, etc. for One Piece, not only One Piece, but anime in general, not anime adaptations, why it doesn't work and why it does work. That comes down to like casting and stuff. But in general, going into this, I did not think that this man was ready. I know how that sounds, but like I just didn't think this man was ready. I didn't think that he was gonna be a good Luffy. I didn't think he was gonna play the part right. I think this is gonna be an embarrassing thing for him. But if I'm being honest, it works. It works. He works. It just works. I even heard that he had met with Yuichiro Oda and he got the blessings from Yuichiro Oda to play his character. But I was skeptical. Seeing that made me skeptical, and that's why I tried to keep myself as clean as possible from the spoilers, from everything else, and from how everybody's going to look and all this other stuff. I tried. You know how things happen though, like you'd see things or whatever. You can't control everything. But I tried to keep myself clean and I didn't think he could do it. But I watched the first episode and by God damn it, it feels like Luffy. Like I don't know what else to say. God damn it, it feels like Luffy. Like maybe it comes to how the writing is and how the world is being created and etc. But it feels like Luffy's energy. That's what it is. Luffy's energy is exemplified within this like character. And he's doing a good job. The acting, he's doing a good job. I will say that. The acting is, in this first episode too, from all characters, not just Luffy, it's been pretty believable. It hasn't been too corny or too stiff or unbelievable. It's been pretty good. And I had the opportunity to see it in the Japanese, because that's something too. And we have to understand with like what I think we have to understand what the distinction is between, like I said, One Piece, what the distinction is between One Piece, the animated movie is. I think the whole concept of the the whole concept of anime adaptation. We have to understand that things are gonna be a little bit different. Things not going to be a little bit different. Things are not gonna be perfect, because the real world isn't necessarily perfect. But he brings the energy of what Luffy is and how he's acting. And I had the opportunity to watch this in both English and the Japanese audio. And at first going through it, I was kind of like, well, like, honestly, like, this sounds kind of weird and I'm not necessarily like used to this. So I tried it in Japanese, and it actually had the original Japanese voice actors voice acting this episode, or these episodes, the original voice actors for Luffy and for Zoro and for everyone. And I thought that was fucking awesome, actually. They should do that. And that will, as a medium in general for live action stuff, they should have that as an option. And if they could somehow work that into theaters where they kind of like put on the headphones and you could actually watch it in like Japanese, like that'd be so cool. Like, because we have to understand, this is a different kind of piece. It's not just a movie. It's an anime adaptation of. It's an anime, not just an episode. It's an anime adaptation episode of One Piece. That's what it is. Not just an episode, not just a drama. And this somehow found a way, a middle ground to meld both of them into two. Now, let's get moving forward with like the apparel and all this other stuff. This movie looked good. This movie looks like the One Piece universe. The way how they're dressed, it looks like it came right out of the comic book. They ripped it right out of the fucking manga, and they threw it into the live action world. The way how everybody's dressed and the way how things looked, it is absolutely incredible. Like Luffy in the apparel, everybody, it doesn't look like cosplay. It looks like Luffy is actually a character. So it again, that's what we have to understand if we're gonna do this. And Yushiro Oda has somehow found a way to do that correctly, in my opinion. Now, Luffy, is it perfect? No. Do they look exactly perfect like from the fucking manga and anime? No, of course not. It's not gonna be that way. Why? Because it is a live adaptation of One Piece. We have to accept that. Now, and nothing's gonna be perfect. Now, everything else is spot on in terms of like their apparel and everything else with the characters like Luffy, Zoro, or Nami. The one gripe that I have, the one problem that I have with Luffy when it came to his apparel though, was his ability, was the fact that he didn't have flip-flops. I know how silly that probably sounds, but why isn't this motherfucker wearing flip-flops? I mean, that's what we're used to. That's what we know in the anime. But realistically, he was probably walking around and dealing with all the operation of the cranes and all those other stuff, probably for like special effects. They probably being on a movie set is probably, or a episode or drama set. Being on set, I'm assuming, has probably some health challenges and health hazardous things that you have to pay attention to, or you have to abide by. But the shoes that they gave him were just kind of weird to me. I didn't really like that. Like, it was just, why is he dressed that way? I just didn't get it. Like, I feel like you should, if they couldn't do the shoes, they should have open-toed shoes. I guess they couldn't do, but like maybe they could have made an exception and maybe let them wear sandals or something like that. Maybe even Crocs. Crocs would have been better. Crocs would have been better. And then I guess like they probably didn't. What I was gonna say was like, well, why didn't they just like CGI the shoes in if they couldn't have them shoes? Maybe it looked too weird or something. Like I don't know. But anyway, Luffy and the crew looks great. Some of the villains look a little jank, I'll give you that. Like, I know, like, Shanks kind of looks like, I mean, I also almost kind of wonder if it has to do with me and the fact that, like, I'm so used to Shanks being, like, I'm so used to old man Shanks now. Shanks doesn't have, like, the hat or the short hair. He has, like, a beard and, like, the long hair and the redhead with and it looks actually like red hair. That's what I'm probably used to from the anime. But in this version of Shanks, yeah, he's younger and he had like, and I even go back to the anime in the beginning when he had like short hair and he didn't really and he wore the hat. I don't know. I don't like necessarily how they made Shanks look. He looks a little cosplay. And I think that's something that we have to keep in mind here in terms of like, if we're going to do if we're going to continue on with these live action adaptations of anime. It's not just a movie. It's a live action adaptation of an anime. If we're going to continue to do that, I think that it's actually extremely important to remember that cosplay exists. We got to make sure that these characters look like characters and not cosplay. We got to make sure that they look good. He looks like a cosplay character. I'm sorry. And he's not the only one. The guy with the metal jaw that we see later on inside the episode as well, he looks like a cosplay character. I feel that we could do a little bit better than making these characters look like a cosplay character, or making them more closely casting them a little bit better towards the actual characters and how they would look. The first villain that Shanks, the kind of bandits that Shanks comes encounter with, the sand bandits, I think they were from the episode 1 of like One Piece. They don't look like cosplayers. They look like fucking badasses. They look like, maybe because they look a little dirtier and they look like, it looks more like believable. And Shanks' crew look a little bit more like cleaner. What they're supposed to look like, they're supposed to like be portrayed as like the nice guys, but like he looks more like a character. Do you know what I mean? And we have to understand that in terms of making that. And I think, like I said, like certain characters do it and certain characters don't. So this episode, this whole thing comes very close, I think, to what anime fans actually want from a live action adaptation of what it is. Moving on, I think from the visuals, if we move a little bit more towards like the characterizations of each of them, I gotta talk about Zoro. Dude, Zoro. Oh my god, Zoro. Okay. So Zoro, right? So Zoro, I think Zoro turned the tide for me. That's when I started believing that these are characters and not that adaptations of characters. You see how I used, like, you see the difference though? I think you kind of understand the difference. Like, the Zoro in the anime is more like, he's a bit of a goof. Like when we first meet him, I don't know, he's a little bit more like a little sort of little stiff around Luffy. He's sort of like stoic, a little bit more stoic, like how the Zoro is. It was, at least within this first episode, how he was like that. But then as the anime progresses, he kind of like lightens up, and he's kind of like, he kind of jokes around with them too, but he's all about the training and strength and etc. And like, he's just like the anime badass, and he turns it up. When he turns up, he turns up. When Zoro turns up, he's like, he is the typical shonen anime, like, I'm a swordsman, like samurai character. That's what he is when it calls for it. But he also has like a jokingly side, so it's even. This Zoro in this live action thing, no, nothing like that. He's more of a badass. He's very, I got John Wick vibes, dude. Like, and guys, let me know in the comments if you felt the exact same way through any of these things that I've been saying. If my opinion is spot on, or if I'm saying anything, or if I'm out of my mind, I'm crazy, let me know in the comments. But realistically, Zoro is what sold it for me, if I'm being honest with you. His performance when he first showed up and he fights that guy, and he fights him with the two swords and he cuts him down like in two. I don't remember that happening in the beginning, or happening that way in the beginning of when we first meet Zoro. I kind of vaguely remember him carrying the bag with like half a body in it or something like that. I vaguely remember him doing that inside like a bar, and him going to the guy with the metal mouth and I'm having that whole conversation. I vaguely remember those things, but I don't remember him actually fighting that other guy. Anyway, but his performance to this, absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. I didn't think that I would, you know, I don't even know if it's because I watched that scene in Japanese. That's when I switched over to the audio. I watched that scene in Japanese, and it was just like, I was like, this is anime. This is what we want. This is exactly what we want out of a live action. It felt like a movie, but it also felt like an adaptation of an anime, that it brought the hype of that action. That is exactly what we want. But that's what we wanted. That's what we wanted to see. And like, his swordsman skills and the actors, the way the act, you can tell that there wasn't a lot of cuts with that, where he had to bring in a stunt double he didn't have to bring in a stunt double of what when he was doing the different sword, but you could tell like, okay, that's actually him doing all that stuff, and to make it less like believable. The more real and the more like concrete I think these things are when they do a live action, I think the more success is what they'll have. Like with the boats and stuff, it kind of actually looks like they're on a boat on the water. I don't know if they're actually in the ocean in the middle of nowhere, but like when they show shots of like they're on a boat or they're on the ocean, it looks like that. It looks like an actual pirate show, right? These are things that I think that will definitely help make it more believable and make it less goofy of like, oh, we're playing cartoon characters. No, this is actually a show. Moving on. Nami. We meet Nami in this episode, and she is very much reminiscent of the Nami that's in the how we meet Nami in the manga. She's a thief, and we meet her actually stealing a boat. They casted Nami very well, I think, and actually showed off the fact that she was into maths and etc. right at the beginning of us actually meeting her, and she's showing that she's going to be the navigator, basically, to Luffy's crew. And yeah, I think that there's not. She shined. I gotta admit, she did shine more in this episode. Also, the pacing in this episode, wow, like compared to definitely, first of all, compared to the anime or the manga, this well, probably the manga goes a little bit faster. Probably compared to the anime, this is like lightning fast. Really, they're already meeting. If anything, Luffy already has his 2 members of his crew, and they're getting ready to go by the end of this. But they did her justice. I feel like they gave her staff. They gave her like the personality of like her personality. Actually, I will say that her personality doesn't necessarily match the one in the manga, at least from like this first episode. But that's okay, because neither did Zoro's, but they somehow find a way to make it work. And they actually even have like a funny moment. It's weird because, again, Oda's awesome, because if he really had his hands in this, I feel like he did, because One Piece is like this awesome can be. One Piece is so. If anybody watches One Piece, and if you talk to an anime fan, and you talk to them and you ask them about One Piece, they'll probably tell you that One Piece is the most diverse, the most diverse, the most out of the way kind of like anime that you would ever like watch. It's so diverse and so much. It strives to be weird and funny and action packed, and it strives for the rainbow in terms of bringing out different colors of entertainment. That's the perfect way to put it. And this does that. This feels like the creator. So having all those elements of like having all those funny moments and those playful moments and those happy moments and those sad moments and those fighting moments is One Piece. And I think that this first episode exemplifies that truly. Like I was saying though, they have a funny moment with Nami, and they have a funny moment with Nami where she goes, she's trying to open the safe, and Luffy is just kind of like saying like, it's just something sarcastic that she says that's like, oh no, that's for the other thieves that the blah 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 blah. And then Luffy's just smiling. He's like, right, yeah, what would be the chances of that? And then Nami just looks at him like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And then Luffy's like, oh no, I'm kidding. We both know he wasn't kidding. That's fucking Luffy. Luffy's so stupid. Oh god. But yeah, like it's very much Oda and it's very much Nami. But like I said, her character changes from a very I guess her character in the anime is just more money focused. And we know the reason why she's stealing money. I'm not going to try to spoil anything, because just in case anybody out there is listening that hasn't seen One Piece at all, which is kind of crazy if you've never seen the anime or if you've never seen that before. If you've never seen the anime, like, I mean, check out the anime, but also, you know, let me know what you thought about this. This is your first time seeing the show without any kind of reference in terms of the anime. That's going to actually be a very interesting conversation to know what you guys think about it. But yeah, but her attitude and her mannerisms work. She just plays it straight up like a character, like a human being. It's not over the top or anything. And that's something that I think we need to like take into consideration as well. Like, if we're going to continue on with this live action adaptations of animes and etc. Like, we can't be too over the top. There's certain you can be over the top and you can be kind of big in an anime. It's a cartoon, dude. Like, it's fine to do that there. It's kind of appropriate. They're in a different universe. But if it's a live action, to make it feel real, to make it feel like a movie, to make it feel like an episode, a drama, we gotta tone it down a little bit and act like real people. And Zoro and Nami do this perfectly. Luffy's a little bit like that, but he can be like that because Luffy is actually like that. Like, Luffy is that. He's just like, the energy of Luffy is kind of like a little bit ridiculous. Zoro and everybody else, they kind of have their main thing. They're not really the focus of the protagonist of what that are bringing that energy. But Zoro and Nami kind of have their main focus in the anime, but they're just kind of like, they're more real. They do a good job in acting real. The villains are a little bit goofy in terms of their mannerisms. I will say that. Like, we saw Buggy at the end, and we saw and forgive me guys, I know I'm forgetting his name, the metal mouth guy at the throughout this, and they were just a little, maybe just because of how they looked a little hokey. Like, but their acting was okay. The acting was okay, passable definitely. It wasn't like too crazy or too over the top. It was like getting close to that line of being over the top. That's really how I'm referring to it. But yeah, Nami did a very good job of just playing it. She just played it cool. She just played it very stoic and very cool, very non over the top, not too big. She didn't go too big with it, and it was good. And man, like, everybody's doing such a great job on this first episode, and did such a great job on the first episode, that I'm kind of scared that it'll kind of go downhill in the later episodes, and it won't necessarily be as good. Do you know what I mean? But I mean, who's to say? Honestly, it could be. It could be good. It could be even better, if anything, really. But let's just kind of like, be positive about it and be hopeful for the future. Because again, I went into this clean. I went into it. My low expectations were kind of low, but watching it now, pretty pleasantly surprised. Like how I said, like in the beginning, definitely wasn't bad. We can't say that it was a bad showing or a bad adaptation or cringy adaptation of One Piece. Now, let's talk about the abilities so far, all the abilities of this world and etc. So, Zoro, badass. We talked about him at length. His thing, and the thing I love about Zoro in general, even outside of this live action thing, just Zoro the character, Yuichiro Oda's Zoro, he is a fucking badass because he is never a devil fruit loser as far as I'm concerned. I don't know what happens further in the anime and the manga. And I'm pretty far into the anime/manga. I'm about to watch probably like 100 episodes of One Piece. That's just what I usually do at the end of the year anyway. I just wait until like they're all finished and then they're all out, and then I just, I binge them. But I'm pretty far deep into it. I'm on something that's called I forget what the Wano. Yeah, the line of the Wano. So I'm that far. I'm into it, guys. I'm way into it. And I like it. I'm deep into the Wano, like past certain fights, Wano. And he never becomes a devil fruit user. So everything that he does, in my opinion, that's why I like him so much, is he does it just based off the fact that he is so determined to become stronger, to become better, to become the baddest badass that he could ever be. And he did, and it's not to say that devil fruit users necessarily have help, but there are definitely can be a leg up in this world, and he doesn't have that leg up, but he still keeps up with them. That's what I love about Zoro. And we talked later about how awesome Zoro is, but speaking of devil fruit users, I want to talk about Luffy. and his powers, Luffy and his powers, Luffy and his devil fruit powers. They showed and they went through the sequence of basically him being, Luffy being, they went through the sequence of Luffy being, eating the fruit and how he found the fruit, which was a little bit different from exactly what happened in the anime. That's neither here nor there. That's not necessarily a gripe. We get that it's a different medium. Okay, that's fine. At the end of the day, it kind of does the same thing. We kind of wish that it was a little bit more of the same, not too jarring of a different from the actual adaptation of the manga. But it was good enough. It was passable. It was good enough to be passable. But I want to talk about Luffy's abilities and etc. Now, they're using a lot of CGI for his whips and his whips. I said that because that's the one of the moves he used, because the Gum Gum whip. But his Gum Gum powers, they're using a lot of CGI to do that, and respectably so, because like what else? He can't stretch his hands for real, guys. Like that's the best way to necessarily do them. However, I will say this: I really wish that they had used, and we don't know if they're gonna do this later on in the episodes as they go. I really hope they do, but especially we see it more specific, more personified in the big fight, but the initial fight with the pirates, that those lady pirates, I forget what she's called, but in the initial run-in with them, the initial run-in with those guys, I'm pretty sure that he uses like more of his Gum Gum powers, and it felt like they were just holding back a little bit on that. Like that scene was okay for a live action scene. It could have been ramped up a little bit more, but that's only because I felt like they should have used why didn't they use his powers more? And I feel like through this episode, through this entire thing, they should have been using his powers more. Like they should have been using like at this point, Luffy doesn't have the gears or haki or any of that stuff, but not yet. But original OG One Piece, early onset One Piece is still friggin' awesome because Luffy has an assortment of attacks that he basically uses: the Gum Gum Whip, the Gum Gum Axe, the Gum Gum Pistol, Gum Gum Balloon, everything Gum Gum, and that's what Luffy's basically about. I just wish, and again, it's not. I suppose it's because of like budgeting issues and whatnot. Because when they do, it's definitely easier to do a. It's definitely probably easier to do a. It's definitely probably easier to do a animation like that, a stretchy animation, or where someone stretches their arm like way long and or turns into a giant balloon and all that stuff. And drawing that, definitely easier to draw that than actually putting that into some kind of green screen animation, CGI thing or whatever it is. It's probably more expensive as well, and I get that. But they probably had to budget it out to make sure he doesn't do too much of that, I guess, to go over the budget. But if this is the premiere and this is the pilot, I feel like they should have like amped it up just a little bit. Like I would like to see him do like he does the pistol and he does the muchi. He does the whip. Gum gum no muchi, the whip. He does like I said, he does the gun, the pistol, and he does the whip. But I was hoping like something like the balloon or like just something more, the axe or the arrow, so just a little bit more to show that like that's what Luffy is basically about. Do you know what I mean? But like I say, like they have like funny moments in this. They have like funny moments. They have it's very One Piece. Like regardless of the lack of abilities. That's probably one of my gripes about this in general. Overall, like I said, pretty good definitely a pretty good first start, pretty good off the bat in terms of adaptations and live action stuff. Yeah, I wish that only that like other media can be or could be just as good, but at the same time, I feel as though Yushiro Oda is only able to do this because One Piece is supposedly supposed to be ending, and supposedly supposed to be coming to its near end, and he has time, I suppose, to put into actually overseeing a large project like this that's live action, and putting in the work of actually making sure that nothing gets nothing goes wrong and nothing is messed up on the production side of things. Because I'm sure if and they said I'm not too sure, don't quote me on this, but Type Kubo, we talked about Bleach. Bleach was awesome. The adaptation of Bleach was great. But we talked about Bleach and that was great. And they said that Type Kubo apparently had some kind of hand in that as well. And that's why it came out the way it did. So I guess the moral of the story, or what I'm getting at, is that if more creators, if possible, are involved in the actual planning of these things, and the actual not only the actual planning of these things, but the actual production and okaying and signing off on these things, it might actually be watchable. It might actually be, or at least that's got to be a part of the formula. If we're going to continue to create these things, 110% it's got to be a part of the formula. And I think that's the only way, or the only honestly real way that these things are gonna thrive, are going to be considered a new media, if anything, as well. And just like every other episode, guys, we're going to end this one with Ash's favorite scenes. Yay! The top favorite scenes I found in this episode. And definitely one of the scenes I gotta say that was actually pretty good in this, must admit, was all of them were actually pretty good. The accuracy of this in terms with the manga, it's pretty good. But I think coming to scene number 3 for third place, I guess, is definitely the I guess that fight scene with the beginning with the I forget beginning her name, but with the female pirate, with Kobe, is it Kobe? When Luffy first arrived on the scene, that was actually pretty good, because it kind of showed it kind of led the paces of what this is what this series is basically gonna be about, and what it's basically gonna be like. So it kind of set the tone of what the fights were going to be like, in a certain kind of way for Luffy anyway. Kind of goofy, but at the same time, very interesting. The second favorite scene of mine coming in has got to be, they're all fight scenes. It's going to be the fight with when they were trying to escape from that marine base, and and Zoro, and Nami, and Luffy all kind of showed up. It was kind of yeah, time to kick some ass. It was one of those movie moments. That's basically what it was. And they were yeah, this is my crew, and they were all no. Just the stoicness of it, of how he's no, absolutely not, nope. It's just again, it's the realness, the authenticity of it, from making it feel less cartoonish to that of live action. That was pretty live action to me. That was pretty anime. Live action and anime to me. So that, like I said, it has to be a healthy balance. And then the number one scene, oh my god, like I said, like I was in when I first saw it. I was like, I was there for it. I was like, this could be dope. Like they got proper actors for this. The scene with Roronoa Zoro versus that guy, and who he basically cuts in half. Oh my god, that was it. That's when I was like, all right, we got something here. That was like an actual samurai battle. The choreography for this was actually really, really good. All the scenes with Zoro in it, well, even though that big scene with when he uses his three swords and he used one inside of his mouth and he's like, "Sin to you." He didn't say that, but like that's basically what he says. Because I mainly watched it in English, but went to Japanese for like a little bit, just to check out some scenes. Sin to you. Anyway, yeah. And those are my top favorite scenes. And let's go to Linda for the on review score.
One Piece live action, episode 1 receives a 3 out of 5.
Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for me here at the OnReviewCast. I've been your host, Ash. Thank you so much for listening. Really, really appreciate it. This One Piece live action, really looking forward to the next few episodes and reviewing the next couple of episodes. And if you enjoyed anything that you've listened and or seen here today, be sure to make sure and follow all of our socials, Facebook, the Instagram, and the Twitter. Make sure to follow us on all of our socials. Make sure to like, subscribe to all the social media things. Thank you guys so much for listening, like I said before. And lastly, before I go, don't forget, guys, be safe, be kind, be you. Take care.